Welcome. You're watching In the Crosshairs with Raquel Okiai. I'm your host, and my special guest today is Linda Walker. Linda Walker is a longtime NRA board member, and she is the founder of Buckeye Firearms, which is located in Ohio. And I asked Linda to come on because I wanted to just talk about gun rights in general, current events, and what your perspective is, particularly with like what's happening in today's culture when it comes to guns. I think that the people against us, the anti-gunners, they're out there making a lot of noise, and they're blaming the gun, they're blaming the NRA, they're blaming people that, you know, it's not our fault, right? So you're an NRA member, I'm an NRA member, you and I aren't criminals. Yet, for some reason, the mainstream is out there pushing this platform that we are the bad guys. So I want to know what your perspective is on that.
Well, thanks for having me on, Raquel. It's always a pleasure to join you. You know, I look at the world today, and especially our country, and what's going on in the last year and a half in our country politically makes me sick to my stomach. And then, you know, when Las Vegas shooting happened, and then the Parkland shooting happened, you know, the NRA, gun owners, any gun advocates are being attacked from every single direction it is. You know, once again, they're blaming us, the law-abiding citizens, for the acts of criminals. And, you know, NRA's out in front of, you know, we put Colonel North out there as our new president because in these warlike times, we needed to put a warrior at the helm. And so looking forward to seeing the direction we go as far as the NRA.
Well, I think it was a good choice. What is the direction that the NRA plan on taking in combating all of this negativity towards us?
Well, you know, we need to be on the offense and not the defense. The defense is the side where the anti-gunners want to always put us. And, you know, Colonel North will put out that message. It's like, it's not the gun owners' fault that we've got nutbags out here who are committing heinous crimes, absolutely heinous. And so I think we're going to see a full force on with NRA and, you know, all the gun groups across the United States. They've come out in full force to defend this. Just this week, if I can touch a little on what happened in Ohio, back in 2007, we passed preemption in Ohio, which made all the gun laws uniform across the state. And one of the points in that bill was if a municipality ever violated our preemption law, that if they were taken to court and they lost, which they would, they have to pay attorney fees on the other side. Well, Buckeye Firearms and Ohioans for Concealed Carry sued the city of Columbus and Cincinnati because both of their city councils implemented a bump stock ban. And yesterday, the Franklin County judge came out on the side of gun owners in Ohio and said that because of our preemption laws, they cannot ban them in the city of Columbus. Cincinnati's lawsuit is pending, and they're going to get the same outcome, so they might as well withdraw because they're going to get the same outcome. They're going to lose. They're going to pay our attorney fees. And so we could have sat back and just let them do this, but no, absolutely not. They cannot violate what is part of our constitutional law now.
So that is perfect. So that's really acting preemptively, I must say. So the preemptive law says that the counties, the lower municipalities, the smaller municipalities, just simply can't pass laws that violate the Constitution or your state constitution.
That's right.
So you have one ruling in your favor, and like you said, you're likely going to get a second ruling. So in your favor. Congratulations. Very, very good.
Yes. Well, it's always fun to sue someone and know that you're going to get your attorney fees recouped. It's a win-win for gun owners.
That is great. And I think that it also can be a model or a template for other states to create the similar laws, preemptive laws, because, as you know, Linda, the states only have a certain parameter that they're really allowed to work with, under 1968 Gun Control Act, was, pretty specific. All right. So if you were adjudicated mentally unfit, you can get a firearm. You have to have a license to sell a firearm, and then you also have to have a background check. So we know that all of this goes on. Okay, yes. This is already the law, but the states, in my opinion, have determined that to mean all kinds of crazy things that is in violation of the Second Amendment, like the restrictions on age, the bump stock laws. The confiscation laws. All these things that states have done. I think it was Richard Naskak from Florida Carry told me we have 33,000 gun laws on the books. It seems to me that it's just out of control. That these laws are made for show, maybe to make people feel good. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, absolutely. I think our forefathers got it right. 27 simple words should be our gun rights. And, a number of years ago when we were running some legislation in Ohio, and I don't know which one, but I sat there one evening and I literally read 110 pages of Ohio Revised Code telling me how and when I can carry my gun. When, our Second Amendment Constitution is my gun permit. So I don't know, but to me, when we passed preemption in 2007, beyond our original concealed carry bill that went into effect in 2004, to me, preemption was probably the most important bill we've ever passed in Ohio. And if states have not passed preemption, they seriously need to do it, because before Ohio passed it, we had 80 some municipalities across the state that had some type of gun ban or ordinance on their books, where if I was going to drive from Columbus to Toledo or to Cleveland or Cincinnati or whatever, I would have literally had to read every little ordinance on every little town's books as I was traversing through those towns to know if I was going to be violating their gun laws or not. And now I know I can drive from corner to corner in Ohio and know that all of our gun laws are uniform across the state. So I really think that, these states that have not passed it, they need to put that on their priority list.
I'm putting it on my priority list now.
Good.
It's a great idea. The state of Louisiana did something a little different. They put it on there as a referendum. I think it was 2012. And the referendum was that it was to treat any firearm law with strict scrutiny, that the judges must determine gun control laws under strict scrutiny. And that passed under referendum in Louisiana by about 75% of the voters, which was pretty high. Yeah. So that's also sort of a proactive way to prevent the municipalities from making these laws. At the very least, that it prevents it forces the judges to apply strict scrutiny when making that determination.
Yeah.
It's almost like they do incremental gun control. And we almost have to do incremental proactive, to get them to stop.
Yeah, well, ever vigilant. And, going back to the case that Buckeye Firearms just won with the city of Columbus. We could have just gone, yeah, whatever, nobody has a bump stock anyhow. But no, it was a clear violation. And we jumped on it immediately. As soon as their city council passed it, we jumped on it, filed the lawsuits. And, we can't let these little things go away. I think back to, I think it was 2012 when Colorado did their Senate recall election. Mm-hmm. They recalled 2 senators, and literally Colorado lost their gun rights overnight. I mean, they passed this gun control in the dead of the night.
Yeah,
And,
like me.
you know, Tim Knight, who's one of my fellow NRA board members, he was instrumental in starting that recall election. And 3 of us from Buckeye Firearms went out there, myself, Sean Maloney, who is also an NRA board member, and Ken Hansen, who's one of our attorneys. We went out there and we worked on that campaign. Well, 2 campaigns, 2 senators got recalled. And, you know, Colorado seems to have not learned a whole lot from that recall because they still keep trying to trample on the people's rights. But going back to that recall, the people took back their legislature with, you know, recalling their Senate president and one of their female senators who a rape victim was testifying in a hearing. And this female senator said to her, well, there's nothing you could have done to prevent it anyhow. Which, as a woman, is completely appalling to me that another woman would say that to another lady.
Yeah, because it's just absolutely not true.
Yeah. Millions of women are proving that day after day after day in the United States.
Yeah, I know, and I know you pay special attention to females and gun rights, which
Yes.
is awesome. So give us an update on what's happening. I've had already, you're my 3rd female guest out of my 14 episodes, which is really awesome. And the female guests are always fun to talk to. It's so male dominated, you know, as you know. But I don't think it's not male dominated because, in my opinion, women are like pushed out or anything. It's just that it's sort of like maybe like a macho male kind of thing. But I know that the statistics show that females are more and more getting interested in firearms and becoming armed. And in fact, they're more likely to carry they're more likely to own 1 gun, and it's a handgun. So that would be personal protection.
Yes.
I think it's
well,
awesome.
And, you know, in the years in which I've been involved in the Second Amendment, and, you know, I got involved because of our 2004 concealed carry bill. You know, I had been a realtor for 3 years prior to concealed carrying being passed in Ohio. I figured out really quickly that was a really dangerous job. And people don't think about that until I say, what other job is there where the bad guy can call me and tell me when and where to meet him or her at a property I've never been inside of before. So as soon as concealed carry passed in Ohio, my husband and I both jumped on getting our licenses. But, you know, it was just a really poorly written passed bill originally. And me being me, I wanted to be someone who helped fix the problem. So I look at the gun culture in 2004 and now fast forward 14 years, and just the difference in the amount of women that are involved, and actually even the mindset. You know, when I got involved, we picked that one legislator to carry that one piece of legislation that one session. And that's what we worked on. And now we find all the legislators want to carry gun bills, which then becomes problematic because you can only handle just so much. But, you know, I became an instructor in 2006, and probably starting about 6 years ago, I found that regularly my classes were 2/3 women to 1/3 men, and across the board instructors were saying that.
Wow.
So something happened, you know, about 2010 where women finally were taking their own self-defense in their own hands. And, you know, as you've been involved in it, to see the awakening of women across the United States, I just absolutely love it. And, you know, NRA is very involved in bringing more women. And,
I think so,
you know, I've been a part of doing that because when I was elected in 2011, you know, I wanted to do something for the women that maybe they were coming to their first NRA annual meetings, didn't really want to be there, but they came with their husband. And Maria Heil and I, we put our heads together and we drug Sandy Froman into it, which Sandy is the second female president of NRA. And the Women's New Energy Breakfast was born with Wayne Lapierre's blessing. And we just had our fifth one in Dallas.
That's fantastic.
And, you know, Sandy, when she was doing her speech this year, she asked the ladies in the audience, and we had about 150 or so, and it gets bigger every year. How many was this their first time at that breakfast? At least 80% of them raised their hands, and it's like, yes, we are reaching the audience that we wanted to reach from the get-go. And so yeah, NRA, you know, they've got the women's leadership luncheon and their summits. Oh my gosh, they'll get 900,000 women at that. They raise a ton of money for NRA. And, you know, I've been to the summits, and, you know, it's just a nice sisterhood in the Second Amendment community. So I absolutely love the direction in which women are moving as far as gun rights.
Yeah, I think they are too. And I think that they are definitely motivated to protect themselves.
Yeah.
I think that the hot topic, it's a hot topic, and people are curious. And it's like an awakening when you bring somebody to the range who hasn't shot guns before, might be a little bit fearful of it.
Yeah.
It is an awakening for both male and females. After it's all said and done, they're like, they're so empowered.
Yes.
Wow. You know, sometimes I just want to take like the naysayers and be like, shh, shh, don't talk, don't talk, just go. Go.
Yeah, let's go to the range.
Yeah. So much fun.
It's funny because, you know, over the years of instructing, all too often I would have men in my classes and they would go, how do I get my wife interested in shooting? And I always tell them the same thing. It's like, you know, if a woman's not interested in guns, the man might as well be talking transmissions to her. And so I've always told him, it's like, find another pro-gun woman, have that woman take your wife to the range, and now it becomes girls' day out. And, you know, women can bring the fun to it where, you know, perhaps maybe the husband can't. So seek out those. There's lots of us pro-gun women who would just love the opportunity to take another woman to the range.
Yeah, me too. I definitely want to do that. I want to shift gears, a little different topic, Linda. I want to know your opinion and why. What is your opinion when it comes to concealed carry on a federal level? So a reciprocity bill. So there's sort of mixed reactions from people. I want to know what your opinion is.
Well, from my understanding, the one that languishes on the federal level.
Yeah.
From my understanding, all it says is if a state has some form of concealed carry, which all 50 states do now at this point, then anyone who's got a concealed handgun license or permit, whatever it's called in each state, can carry in that state. From my understanding, it doesn't change any laws. The biggest concern is you look at our oppressed states like California, New Jersey, New York. If their legislature just struck down their current concealed carry bill, they could wipe it out and you wouldn't be able to carry in those states. So I'm a huge supporter to get national reciprocity passed. I think that if we get a working U.S. Senate, we might be able to get that done, because the House already passed it. Congress has done their job. We're waiting for the Senate to do their job. Which, talking about the Senate, elections matter. And I'll tell you what, these November elections scare the heck out of me. Because if the Republicans lose the House or the Senate side, President Trump's hands are tied. Absolutely tied. He will get nothing done. So we need to get out there. We need to motivate people. You need to go to the polls and you have got to vote. No excuses unless you're on your deathbed. An absentee vote.
Yeah, definitely research the politician and research the sitting representative that you have and see where they stand on Second Amendment rights.
Yes.
And it is important to keep that control in the Republican Party, because we know that the history has been that the Republican Party is the party that defends Second Amendment rights, at least to the extent, where it's not the Democrats. The Democrats have been really, really anti-gun, and I'm not really anti-Democrat, right?
Right.
I've been getting really pissed off with them lately because they're so, that fake news.
Yes.
How do you blame the NRA for a gun shooting, for a shooting in a school, which has nothing to do with the freaking NRA?
Yeah.
I get so aggravated. I just, with the Democrats, they go flying on crazy topics that it's all smoke and mirrors. And I think the reason why we have seen an uptick in women going out and buying firearms, particularly we were talking about 2010 through 2012, and keeps going. And I think they're fed up with the smoke and mirrors.
I think
Fed up with the BS. So they're watching their local news station. They're cooking dinner. Doing what families do, and they hear all this like baloney. Well, the NRA's been around a long time. It's the oldest civil rights organization in the country. And train. We have the NRA training police officers, law enforcement all across the nation. I mean, these are frontline people. These are the people, protecting us. The NRA plays such an important role in our history. For the Democrats to put that label, like all of a sudden we're the bad guy, is really a lie. And I think that men and women, I think the voters really see right through it at this point.
Well, I hope so. When you've got the constant daily barrage of fake news and rhetoric, I mean, it's daily. And it doesn't matter whether it was Trump who was elected or, name any of the Republicans who ran. They would all be treated the exact same way that he's being treated. And, God love that man. Here's a billionaire who could be enjoying his life right now with his family, not a care in the world, but for the love of our country, he gave all that up. And to listen to the other side berate this man, and when you've got people like Bernie Sanders, who is let's call him what he is. He's a communist. And then we've got that lady, I think, in New York who just won the primary. Let's call her what she is. She's a commie.
Right.
And the world is going on with these voters. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think that they're very loud, but at the end of the day, they're a small minority.
I hope so.
I think the majority, Bill O'Reilly used to say on his show, the country is center right, and I do believe it is. And most people that I talk to who are kind of like, not really into politics, and I, might just meet them, and I get into a conversation about gun rights. And most of the time when I start talking about it in a positive way and let them know that, I'm a gun rights writer and I've been, studying this issue for quite a while, and, this is the data, this is what, and most people are like, hey, I'm pro Second Amendment. They respond to me like, yeah, oh yeah, I love guns. All of a sudden now, they're so funny. But I have nothing again. sometimes once you give people the facts and you get out of the smoke and mirrors, they really look at the issue and they're like, hey, yeah, that makes sense. You know, it's so logical. You mentioned the president, and I want your opinion on him. He's got, of course, he's got all that liberal media negativity, and I'm not really talking about them. I'm talking about the pro-gun community. So not all of them, really like Trump or not. I think that we can all agree that he was obviously better than Hillary, but definitely some people are against Trump, some people aren't. What is your opinion with respect to Donald Trump and Second Amendment? Is he going to move Second Amendment in a positive way or not?
I think he absolutely will. Remember, he's not a politician. And going back to 2016, I guess it was, at annual meetings, at one of the luncheons I was at, his son, Donald Jr., spoke. And Donald Jr. talked about him and Eric, his brother. They live and breathe the Second Amendment and guns. That's what they do every weekend, is go and shoot guns. And I walked out of that luncheon because Trump was not my first choice. Actually, Ted Cruz was my first choice. But I walked out of that luncheon going, if it ultimately is Trump, those boys are going to keep him in line on the Second Amendment, because they sure as heck don't want their dad taking away what they love doing. And, he's not a politician. He's definitely not a gun guy. I mean, he's from New York City. And, we had that little bump in the road when Las Vegas happened, when he said something about banning bump stocks. Well, Wayne LaPierre and Chris Cox got in there immediately, and they had meetings, full-on meetings with him, and, walked out of there knowing that they had set his mind straight. So I honestly don't think he will ever do any harm to our Second Amendment, or actually any of our constitutional rights.
Wow, that's an awesome perspective. You like Trump. I want to let you know, Linda, that, I'm from New York also, and Trump is certainly in the media, kind of like in the gossip columns, but there was never any real bad talk about him. It might just be, he's building a new property, he's doing this, that, he's doing charity work, he's taking pictures with Muhammad Ali, he's sort of Rosa Parks, things like that. There was never any like that. It's almost like he's like a hero. So him and I are from the same county, and, people from Queens, we talk like that. The way he talks, some people don't like it, but like for me, it's like my next door neighbor. Like, I love the guy, I could be like hanging out at home on the block with Trump.
Well, I'm a very blunt person also. Anybody who knows me, they know where I stand on something. I don't skirt the issues. And, I would rather hear from him. Some of the things he says sometimes, it's like, maybe rephrase that. But you know what? You know where he stands. And,
That's it.
And it's kind of funny, not to change the subject, but like the North Korea thing. And the day he came out and said, well, then I'll just cancel this summit with, the North Korean leader. And honest to God, I think he was being dad. It's like, okay, son, if that's the way you want to act, I will take your privileges away. Right. And we've repeatedly seen him play, the hardline dad, and then the child falls into line. It keeps working.
Yeah, that definitely works for him. He absolutely does have this like father, mentor, figure about him. I really like Trump too. I just personally, and I do think the media is just outright attacking him because he's a Republican. And if you recall, George Bush really got beat up really badly, I voted for George Bush, and it just seemed Jr. And it just seemed that he really got, kicked to the curb, and it was so unfortunate just because he was a Republican. Was he perfect? No, nobody is, and did I disagree with some of the things he did? Of course I did. But, George Bush, he loved this country. You could take that away from him, right? You could almost feel it in his energy. This man loved this country, same way I feel like Trump does. Yet the media, they were beating him into the ground. So this is not, this bombardment on Trump, it's not anything new for some of us. We already know that double standard goes on. So I'm going to go ahead and make the same suggestion you did a few minutes ago, and that's to go ahead and support your elected officials that are pro Second Amendment. The election, we have interim elections coming up this year. While we might not get any gun bills passed because of the election cycle right now, but in the future, for next year and so on, we want representation in Congress that supports the Second Amendment. I mean it's the liberty's tooth. So as it's been described by others, and without the Second Amendment, Linda, as you know, we really don't have any protection against anything.
Oh, absolutely.
We can't defend ourselves and our property and our families against the criminals. How are we going to defend ourselves from a despotic government if that were to happen?
Well, I mean, in the gun community, we all say the Second protects all of our other rights. And there's a reason why our forefathers put it up there at the top, to protect all of our other rights. And, you look at every country who has disarmed their citizens in the name of reducing crime. Australia is a good example when they did their handgun ban in the name of reducing crime. Mm-hmm. In the first calendar year that passed, crime went up 44%. How'd that work for them? How did it work for, the Germans and the Jews when Hitler disarmed the people? So,
right.
Someone may not want to be a gun owner. That's okay. But you better protect our Second Amendment rights.
Yes, I've said that too. I've said that on the show. If you don't want to have a firearm yourself, that's your prerogative. If you want to defend yourself, you can defend yourself in any manner you want. That's your choice. But don't take away my right to defend myself with firearms.
Yes.
Yeah, it's only, it's nothing like I have nothing against you. You know what? Yeah. If you want to have a gun, don't. That's fine. But don't take it away from me. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the people who say, you'll talk about NRA memberships. Why don't own a gun? You don't have to own a gun to be an NRA member.
That's right.
Just believe in what our cause is all we ask for. And, NRA isn't registering your guns. NRA isn't asking for a list of your guns. They don't care. They just want you to support what you and I value.
Absolutely. There is one more topic I want to talk about, Linda, before we go. You and I have spoke about this before, and I know you've been very effective in putting teachers in schools, armed teachers in schools. Why don't you talk a little bit about that program that you commenced in your state? It's been several years, so I definitely would like to hear an update. What's going on with that?
Yeah. So what Raquel is referring to is the FASTER program. Right. Sandy Hook happened on December 14th, 2012. That was a Friday. And I only remember all of that because Ohio was in lame duck. It seems like all of our gun bills always pass in lame duck. So I had literally been in the State House for like 2 weeks solid We finally got our bill passed out of the Senate, headed to the governor on the day before Sandy Hook. All we wanted to do was, it's like, yay, we can go enjoy Christmas now, and then Sandy Hook happened on a Friday. By Monday morning, we had members of the Ohio legislature calling us at Buckeye Firearms going, how do we prevent this from ever happening again in Ohio? Because Ohio had the Chardon High School shooting.
I don't mean to interrupt your train of thought, Linda. So, do you hear my kids in the background? Because I'm about to yell at them right now. I told them not to bother me. I was listening to them, and I'm like,
it's okay. I almost had one of my cats walk by, so across the screen. So you poor thing, you're having a hot flash.
I had kids young, and then I had kids old, so I'm doing it all over again. That's stressful. Okay, so you were going to talk about the shooter straight after Sandy Hook. Start from there.
Yeah. On Monday after Sandy Hook, we had the Ohio legislature calling us, Buckeye Firearms, going, how do we prevent this from ever happening again in Ohio? Because we had the Chardon High School shooting prior to Sandy Hook. A couple kids were killed by another high school student. And by Tuesday afternoon, in conjunction of Buckeye Firearms Association and Tactical Defense Institute, which is in Southern Ohio, it's a training facility very much like Gunsight. John Benner is the owner of it. And we rolled out, at that point, it was called the Armed Teacher Pilot Program. Thankfully, in Ohio, it was already on the books where your school boards could give written permission to anyone to be able to carry on premises. So we didn't have to legislate anything. It was already on Ohio's books.
Perfect.
Right. If other states want to implement something like this and it's not on your books, get it on your books. So anyhow,
right.
This first class that BFA and TDI were going to put on, 24 school employees. And the criteria to pick of those 24 was, if you went through this class, you already had permission to carry in the school, or you were pretty darn sure you were going to be able to carry. For these 24 spots, we were hoping we would get enough school employees who would volunteer to do this. We had 1,600 people sign up for this first class. It was amazing. Imagine
these are teachers that already have concealed carry permits.
Yes.
In the state, and now they're applying to the school board for permission to carry inside the school.
Yes, and what this 3-day class is, and it's an active killer class. So they're getting mindset. They're getting how to treat wounds. They're obviously getting shooting and tactical shooting. So at the end of the 3 days, for all those people who go, oh, well, a teacher cannot shoot as good as a police officer, they have to shoot the police qualifier and above. In Ohio, a police qualifier score to pass is 80%. This one's 93%. And, so these people aren't just, fly by the night. And these are people who volunteered because, we've still got those antis out there. Well, people shouldn't be forced to do this. Or, they're going, well, a teacher should only be concentrating on teaching and not, all of this. Which to me, if I was a teacher and someone said that to me, I would find that very condescending. I mean, that's saying like, well, the only thing a teacher is good for is to teach the children, and they can't do anything else outside of their life. Oh, they could never be a really good shooter too. So since 2013, so it's been over 5 years now, Buckeye Firearms has trained, oh my gosh, I think we're up to like 1,600 school employees. 70 some out of the 88 counties have sent one or perhaps way more than that to this training. So across Ohio, we've got armed schools. Whether
Yeah,
it's
that's
teaching
fantastic.
and
Now, since it's been a few years, what do you believe the result has been? Have you had any school shootings?
no, we have not. And, you know, and I say we as in Buckeye Firearms, we don't publicize what school districts have put someone through this. If the school district chooses to put it out there publicly, some of them have. Some of them have posted signs that, hey, we've got armed people on this school campus. So, you know, that's left up to the school district.
That would be up to them. So it would be the local school board to make the decisions about their schools and what's the best way to protect them, which I think is and it's volunteer. So it's not, no one's forcing anyone to do it. It has sort of extra enhancement requirements so that the teacher who decides to be armed is proficient.
Yes. So
very responsible, and the result is after a few years implementing, you've had a great reaction from the public. You've got people signing in. It sounds fantastic. It's also happening in Florida, isn't it?
Yeah, we've taken it now to multiple states. I'm not even sure how many states we've gone to. Colorado has a very active program out there. Yes, I believe Florida has implemented it. Sean Maloney is doing a lot of the flying around and presenting to school boards. And, you know, talking about elections, local elections matter too. You know, if your school board isn't on board with implementing something like this, well, vote off the current members and put pro-gun members on your school boards. You know, the anti-gunners always are saying, well, we need to get rid of guns for the children. You know what? This is truly for the children. And, you know, they're our most precious entities that we have as our babies. And I can't even imagine anyone objecting to the fact that their teacher, their lunch lady, their school administrator could save their lives. And, you know, when Sandy Hook happened, the lady principal, she ran up on the guy. And I'll tell you what, if she had been armed that day, she would have stopped him in his tracks. And the sad thing is, Connecticut, in their legislature right at that very time, they were actually running a bill to allow teachers to carry in the schools. After Sandy Hook, that bill died.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me that should be, because we should always be looking at any type of forms to protect our kids. The way I see it, Linda, is we have armed guards for our presidents, our governors, our money is protected with armed guards, our, you know, superstars are protected with armed guards, our politicians. Hey, why can't we protect our children that way? You know, I can't think of any other, you know, better reason to do that.
Exactly.
All right, I'm gonna pause for a second because they're really getting my nerves. I'm gonna yell at them right now. Sorry. Hold on. And then we're gonna stop. Okay, we're recording again. Okay, so we are getting close to the end of our program, Linda. Thanks so much for coming on today and spending the time with me. It's been a great show. Thanks for your expertise and opinions. And of course, I'm going to have you back.
Well, I appreciate that.
Give me an update, you know, in a month or two.
And I always enjoy being on with you. You know, it's always fun to talk to a sister. And hopefully I get to see you in September at Gun Rights Policy Conference.
Yes, and that's the last weekend in September, and that's going to be in Chicago.
It is the fourth weekend. Yes, September gets 5 weekends this year, so it's the fourth weekend.
Oh, okay. So it's a fourth weekend in September. Oh, I have to tell the viewers, you have to go.
Yes.
This is the most fantastic event every year. What are they, like 12, 14 years now in the going, or even more?
Oh, sure.
Wow, a long time.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, a long time. And you get all this free material.
Yes.
Alan
Yeah.
Gottlieb. So I've got a whole bookshelf of books that I've gotten for free at the Gun Rights Policy Conference. So I have it all tabbed up. It's got coffee stains on it. It's the Gun Rights.
For your listeners who don't know,
I got it marked up. I have tabs. They're like, oh, wait, I got to see what Alan Gottlieb said about that.
yeah, this is an annual event that the Second Amendment Foundation puts on. So if you want to look into it more, saf.org is the website. Gun Rights Policy Conference, I think it starts September 21st. They have a reception Friday night, and then all day long Saturday, and half a day on Sunday, and then they have a reception Saturday night. And what Gun Rights Policy Conference is, it really brings the leaders in the Second Amendment community together once a year. It's literally speaker after speaker after speaker, but there's a lot of really good information and, the networking during, and I think a lot of us go for the networking because this is when we get to see our fellow Second Amendment supporters from other states. And it's a nice fellowship. It's free to attend. On their website, if you need a hotel, I think this one is at the Hilton or a Hyatt. It's one of the really nice hotels. Mm-hmm. The event is right there in the hotel. They always secure a pretty good price on rooms. I think it's $109 or $119 for a room. So it's a fairly affordable conference to go to, but it's just a lot of fun to go and see all of your friends.
It really is. Yeah, I'm going to really try and make it this year. It's just been great. I love attending those conferences. Like, I live for things like that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I also want you to let the viewers know where they can contact you or where they can follow you.
Well, if someone needs to get a hold of me, my email address is lindawalker614@gmail.com. I've got a Facebook page, Linda Walker. So I'm out there.
And then the Buckeye Association website.
Yeah, buckeyefirearms.org, which we put new articles on there daily, Monday through Friday. Anything that's going on in Ohio, and even, on the federal level, we're obviously supporting the president's SCOTUS pick. And so we've got all kinds of information on there.
Okay, awesome. And then, of course, for the NRA, it's nra.org.
Yes.
Sign up for the NRA. Really low cost. What is it, $35 a year?
It is. And, if someone wants to join for $25, just shoot me an email with your address, and I'll be more than happy to send out a discounted registration.
That's how I got in.
Yes, you did.
Linda Walker is the woman who signed me up to the NRA.
Well, the cool thing is, if it's not enough for, your $35 a year, that NRA is the biggest organization out there fighting for your Second Amendment rights. Well, on top of that, each membership gets automatically with their membership $2,500 in gun insurance. Your gun gets stolen. You file a police report, send it to the NRA. They send you a check so you can replace your gun. And I've also heard that even if you're like a bow hunter and your bow is completely destroyed, I heard someone who, it got drugged behind their ATV and they filed a report, and NRA sent them a membership, or a check to replace it.
Yeah, gotcha.
There's disability insurance. It's all free. And the coolest thing to me is when you're a member, you get to go to the NRA annual meetings every year for free. That is a prerequisite to be able to admittance into annual meetings. And it's in Indianapolis, the last weekend in April. It moves around each year. But, you know, I've always looked at that as it's the biggest family reunion on earth. It's definitely the safest one. But it's a family reunion where you actually like everybody that's there.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've got the vendor show Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All kinds of events. You know, there's always a big stadium show Saturday night. We had Charlie Daniels, you know, this last one. We've had, you know, Trace Atkins, oh my gosh, Alan Jackson. So there's all kinds of events. It's family oriented, bring the kids, and it's free because you know, I remember.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much for giving us that little intro into the NRA. I know a lot of people are misinformed about the group and really, you know, how much good it really does for our Second Amendment rights, really for our future of our country and our children and our grandchildren. It's really wonderful. I want to thank you again, Linda, for coming on the show. Again, I want to have you back, and it always is a pleasure talking with you and knowing you. And God bless you for all of the hard work that you do in support of the Second Amendment. We really appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on again.
You're welcome. Bye. I wave to everybody. Thank you.